Today, thank you very much for joining us. We are about to start our shir today, and it's a very special time today because we know it's Chamisha Asar Bi Shvat, the 15th day of Shvat. And Chamisha Asar Bi Shvat is the Rosh Hashanah for trees. That's what the Mishnah tells us. There are actually 4 Rosh Hashanim. There are 4. One of these Rosh Hashanim is the Rosh Hashanah for trees, Rosh Hashanah Le'ilanot, and this is today, Chamisha Asar Bi Shvat. We are so lucky that we can celebrate it here in Israel, and even people around the world can enjoy this day, even if they have fruit from Eretz, a special day. So today we're going to be talking about 2 things. First of all, we'll be talking about our parsha, but our parsha in connection to Chamisha Asar Bi Shvat. What is the connection to Chamisha Asar Bi Shvat, to Tu B'Shvat, and why is Tu B'Shvat actually such a special day? Why is this day, 15th day of Chodesh Shvat, a special day? Right, it's a Rosh Hashanah Le'ilanos, but what's so special to us, there's the Rosh Hashanah that we all celebrate. That is one Rosh Hashanah, Chodesh Tishrei. That is the beginning of the year, as we all celebrate and we all know. There's also a Rosh Hashanah LaMelachim. The Rosh Hashanah for kings also happens, and that happens on Rosh Chodesh Nisan. So this day is very special because we decided to celebrate this day, unlike other Rosh Hashanah. There's Rosh Hashanah for animals, for example, for behemoths. Why don't we celebrate that date? There's Rosh Hashanah for kings. We don't even mention that Rosh Hashanah. So we know that there is something very unique and something special specifically about this date. So first of all, let's talk about our parsha, Parshas Beshalach. Parshas Beshalach, finally Am Yisrael are leaving Egypt. They cross the Red Sea with a great miracle. What happens on the other side of the Red Sea? So it's very interesting. The pasuk tells us that when they needed to move on towards Mount Sinai in order to receive the Torah, Moshe Rabbeinu needed to force them to leave. How do we know that? So Rashi explains, it says in the pasuk, Vayasa Moshe es Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu took Am Yisrael, and Rashi explains, what is the word Vayasa? In Lashon HaKodesh it means Vayasa Ba'al Korcham. Without them wanting to go, Moshe Rabbeinu forced them to go, and that's why we use the expression, we don't say Vayis Ubnei Yisrael, that they went from their own accord. Vayasa, Moshe Rabbeinu needed to move them from the shore of the Red Sea towards Mount Sinai in order to receive the Torah. Why is that? So Rashi tells us. Rashi tells us that the reason is that Bnei Yisrael saw lots of gold, silver, and jewelry there, right outside of the sea. How did that happen? So basically, the Egyptians were so confident that they'll be able to bring Bnei Yisrael back to Egypt. Am Yisrael, they did not have no arms. They didn't have no way to fight back. So they were 100% sure that they're going to go chase Bnei Yisrael and return them, bring them back to Egypt. So they took all their jewelry, gold, silver, once again to show that they are still rulers of the world. They are still such a great nation. That is what Am Yisrael was facing. And after this amazing miracle, that Am Yisrael they were able to cross the Red Sea without any problem. They were able to directly go through the sea. and the Egyptians drowned in that same sea, Hashem did another miracle. Hashem made all the jewelry, gold, diamonds, and silver to float and to come over to the land, and Am Yisrael were able to take this. Each person had lots and lots of gold and silver. That's why Moshe Rabbeinu needed to tell them, enough. We've got to travel now to Mount Sinai in order to receive the Torah. That's the reason why Moshe Rabbeinu needed to force them to move on and not to stay there. They wanted to collect more gold and silver. They wanted to take the gold and silver. They wanted to have it with them in order for afterwards. So this is a very interesting medrash. This medrash is an interesting medrash because how could that be? Am Yisrael just faced probably the most amazing miracle ever that happened. They see the hand of Hashem, the way Hashem guides them on their way out of Egypt. And Hashem splits the sea for them. And what do? They are busy collecting gold and silver. How could that be? How could it be that this was their emphasis? They should have been focused on leaving Egypt, leaving the gold, diamond, and silver all behind, and moving on towards receiving the Torah. More than that, Am Yisrael, we count today Sfiras HaOmer. What is Sfiras HaOmer? Sfiras HaOmer is the 49 days between leaving Egypt and receiving the Torah. The 49 days between Pesach and Shavuos. Why do we count those days? One of the reasons is that Am Yisrael counted those very same days when they left Egypt, because they waited to receive the Torah. They wanted to receive the Torah, and they were counting the days, Masai, when this day will come that we'll be able to receive the Torah that we are waiting for so long. So we can see that it was truly their priority to actually receive the Torah. That's the main reason that they left Egypt, and they were waiting for it. They didn't just randomly count the days. The idea was that they are waiting, and that's what Rashi also tells us, that they were waiting when this special day will come to us. And that's why they counted the. So how could it be that when the purpose is to move on to Matan Torah, for that same reason, they should leave all the gold and diamond and silver and go back and move on towards Mount Sinai from their own will, without Moshe Rabbeinu needing to force them to move on. So this is the main question that we've got to understand. How could it be that Am Yisrael are sitting there and taking gold and silver and Moshe Rabbeinu needing to force them to move on? Okay, so this is the question. And in order to understand that, we need to understand the idea behind giving the Torah, behind Matan Torah. What is the purpose of us doing the mitzvahs? Why do we do mitzvahs? What is the main idea behind doing mitzvahs? So that's one of the most famous chidushim that Hasidus taught us. Hasidus teaches us that the idea of actually doing a mitzvah is for the benefit of what comes out. What is the ultimate result of a mitzvah? Schar mitzvah, mitzvah atma. The mitzvah itself contains a reward. What is the reward that the mitzvah contains? The mitzvah contains elevating the physical material around us. That is one of the most fundamental ideas that Hasidus brought to the world. That when we do a mitzvah, we're not randomly just putting on tefillin every day. It's not done in that way. When we put on tefillin, we are elevating the tefillin. We are elevating the cow's skin, therefore we are elevating the cow. We are elevating all the people that contributed to the process of making tefillin. We are elevating by davening. We are elevating the siddur. We are elevating the table that we are davening on. We are elevating the entire shul that we're davening inside it, or if it's outside in a makom patuach. The idea is that we are here on a mission, and the mission is to elevate as much as possible, to try and contribute to make Hashem's world a better place, a holy place. The world, if you go outside, the world isn't holy at all. What makes it holy? When we use it for good things. When we use the bus or the car in order to go to do a mitzvah. Even going to work is part of that process, because we give ma'aser, we give a certain amount to tzedakah. That elevates our entire workday. That's why, by the way, when the Gemara in the Yerushalmi, when the Talmud tells us the word mitzvah, without specifying what mitzvah we are talking about, what mitzvah is that? Mitzvah's tzedakah, giving charity, because that's the highest mitzvah. Why is that such a special mitzvah? Because it elevates the main part of our lives. The most part, the effort that we truly put into the world is making a living, working hard. In those days, it was plowing the field, etc., etc. And when we give a small amount to tzedakah, what we are basically doing is we are elevating our entire day and our entire life. So that's basically the idea behind Matan Torah. All the mitzvahs have that. Esrog, lulav, we are taking a tree and we're taking the fruit of that tree. And this connects to Tu B'Shvat, Chamisha Asar B'Shvat. Why do we make such a celebration out of this day? Why is it such a special day? It's deeply connected to elevating the things around us. And so Bnei Israel, imagine Bnei Israel are leaving Egypt. They see all this gold, diamond, and silver around them, and they are going towards Matan Torah. They told themselves, well, we are going to elevate the things in the world. That's the idea behind Matan Torah. But right now we have the same opportunity. We can take these diamonds, this gold and silver, and we can use it, for example, for the Mishkan that we're going to build, for buying houses, etc., etc., for whatever we need, but that is all for one purpose, to serve Hashem with it. There's a very famous medrash that says, Lo nivra hazahav ela lebeis hamikdash. Gold was created only for Beis Hamikdash, which means that, yeah, you could use gold for jewelry, you can use gold for many other things, but it's important to connect to Hashem. Where do we connect gold to Hashem? We connect the gold to Hashem by using it for Beis Hamikdash. So that was the idea. Why do you want to take us to Mount Sinai when we can already start working now on this project of elevating the world? When we take the gold and silver, it's not for our own use. We will use part of it for ourselves because that's part of what Hashem wants. But we are going to use it in order to serve Hashem, and therefore we are elevating right now all these material parts in the world. This is the idea behind what happened there. Right after they crossed the Red Sea, they understood, of course, that it's a miracle of Hashem and this is what Hashem wants. But Hashem also wants us to start elevating the things in the world. That's why Moshe Rabbeinu needed to force them to leave the Red Sea. What's that? What does that have to do with Tu B'Shvat? Chamisha Asar B'Shvat, the 15th day of Shvat. We celebrate specifically this day, and the reason is because this day is connected, deeply connected to us elevating the things around us. Ki ha'adam eitz hasadeh. A person is like a tree. Adam, he is like eitz hasadeh. this connects to another interesting idea. We just spoke about the mitzvahs in our lives. So the mitzvahs in our lives are basically elevating the things around us, but there's another main job that we have in the world, and it's learning Torah. Learning Torah is also connected to trees. Why is that connected to trees? Because you're supposed to enjoy the Torah. Torah, unlike mitzvahs, is the wisdom of Hashem. It's basically part of Hashem. It's Hashem's mind, what Hashem thinks. The thoughts of Hashem, that is what we're learning when we learn Gemara, when we learn Chumash, when we learn Mishnah. Any kind of Limud HaTorah is the wisdom of Hashem and the thoughts of Hashem. So when we basically learn Torah, we're supposed to enjoy the Torah. That's just like fruit and trees. Unlike, for example, wheat, which is not, we don't enjoy wheat, we don't enjoy bread. We could enjoy it, but the main priority, the main point of bread is to simply make sure that we can keep alive, that we can maintain ourselves, and that we can feel okay in order to survive the day. Let's call it that way. We don't need to enjoy the bread that we are eating. It's here to give us strength, but it's nothing that has to do with enjoying. And trees and fruit are here in order to give us something to enjoy. When we basically eat fruit, right? For example, that's a plus. That's a plus. We don't need it. Vitamin C is very good, of course, but people can survive without eating fruit. There's a story that one of the people that were exiled he was not exiled to Siberia, but he was exiled by the Russians to, if I'm not mistaken, to Tashkent. Tashkent, I'm not sure exactly where that is, but that's not in Siberia, but it's in Russia, probably around about Kurdistan, or not Kurdistan, but maybe Kazakhstan, those areas. And the story is that one summer or one entire year, they used to work in the fields there. And they used to make sure that all the food used to go to Moscow. They had barely for themselves. They had a bit to eat, but the Soviet government basically commanded them to transfer all the food that they grew there and to bring it to Moscow. If it was during the Second World War, supplies to the soldiers, but generally also throughout the time of the Soviet Union. So all the goods were basically sent to Moscow. And this person says that there was 1 year that they really grew or anything like that, only fruit. Of 10 days by train. And they enjoyed it. They just ate fruit. They lived on fruit, and that's it. So this shows us again, there's a difference between wheat and fruit. Ha'adam eitz hasadeh. Fruit is here for us to enjoy. Gardens is something that is beautiful, that we could enjoy. People can live without going into a garden, walking into a garden, but it adds a lot. And this is the second part of Tu B'Shvat, enjoying the Torah. Unlike mitzvahs, we also need to enjoy the mitzvahs, but less. The whole idea of Torah is understanding. A mitzvah, even if you want to do it or you don't want to do it, you're obligated to do. You don't have to connect to it. You don't have to relate to it. You don't have to feel an enjoyment when you're doing it. Chassidus, of course, adds that we've got to connect the two. We've got to learn the idea behind the mitzvah, and that will cause us to enjoy the mitzvah as well, right? When we know why we put on tefillin every day, then we are happy to do it. That's the idea behind Chamisha Asa B'Shvat. Enjoying Hashem's creation. enjoying Hashem's bria, enjoying what Hashem gave us here in the world. Specifically when we are talking about fruit, gardens, and trees. So to summarize the idea of our parsha in relation to Tu B'Shvat, our parsha teaches us that Am Yisrael looked for gold and silver. There's no problem doing that. And more than that, it's important to do it. But all for one purpose, connecting it to Hashem, using it for Hashem. Using it for Hashem could be living in a nice place, because when you serve Hashem out of comfort, that's much more enjoyable. It's a higher level. You are elevating all the things around you. And by the way, that's why Moshe Rabbeinu needed to force them to leave the edges, to leave the shores of the Red Sea, because they were busy elevating the gold and silver there. This is the idea of Chamisha Asa B'Shvat, of Tu B'Shvat. The idea is that we've got to enjoy the fruit, and more deep than that, we've got to enjoy Limud HaTorah, the Torah that has a taste. We've got to understand Torah. By the way, if someone does not understand, if someone wakes up in the morning and he reads through the Gemara, he reads through a Mishnah, he doesn't make a blessing. He doesn't make a blessing that he's learning the Torah of Hashem, because he's not understanding it. So it's not truly learning Torah. When you read Tehillim or when you read a Chumash, so that is learning Torah, even if you don't understand, because they are holy letters. But Gemara, you have to understand. You have to have a taste in it. You've got to understand it. You've got to connect to it. This is the idea behind Torah. Now, one other thing, and this we mentioned it in 2 words, but Hasidus says we've got to combine the two together. We've got to understand our mitzvahs too. We've got to enjoy our mitzvahs too. There's a very interesting story that I heard from Rabbi Steinsaltz, not from him personally, but from one of his students. And the student basically, he told the rabbi, he spoke to him about davening, prayer. It's a bit similar to the mitzvahs, because sometimes we are obligated to daven. Every morning we wake up, we know Shachris, Mincha, and Ma'ariv, we do it no matter what. So sometimes we can lack the taste in it. And he came to Rabbi Steinsaltz and he told him, every day it's the same nusach. We are saying the same things. It's a bit boring. I don't enjoy it. Rabbi Steinsaltz told him, look at it in a different way. Every day, if you change your mindset, if you move a bit, the meaning to davening is different. You have a deeper understanding. You have a deeper relationship with Hashem, and you can connect to Hashem on a new level once you change a bit. Once you make more effort to understand Hashem in His ways, and then the davening might be the same words, but it's a totally different situation, because you are connecting to Hashem on a higher level. Likewise, when we do a mitzvah, we connect to Hashem. We can do it as an Eved Pashut, as it says in Hasidus, as a simple servant that he doesn't understand. Do it like a Sar, like a minister of Hashem. When we do it like a minister, what we are basically doing is we are connecting to Him deeply. We are understanding Hashem's ways. We are learning about Hashem. It says, Da es Elokei avicha. You should know the God of your father. You should know Him, because when you know Him, knowledge is power, right? Knowledge is power. When we know Hashem, we are able basically to connect to Him deeply, even if it's the basic acts every day that we do. Put on tefillin, whatever it is, eat kashrus. This is the idea when you have, it's called in Yiddish, there's an expression, it's called geschmack. When you have a geschmack in learning, it changes everything completely. So this is the idea behind Tu B'Shvat and the idea behind our parsha. thank you again very much for taking part in this shir. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all, Be'ezrat Hashem, on Sunday morning at 9:30 for another shir.